So Zombie Flesh Eaters is being re-released on 4K. It's also streaming online as well. Joining us today to talk about it is Dan from Nancy Boys. Is it Zombie Flesh Eaters or is it Zombie 2? Because I think initially it was Zombie 2, wasn't it, in Italy?
It's Zombie 2 in Italy because it's a sequel to Zombie 1, which is what they named Dawn of the Dead in Italy. But in the UK, it's called Zombie Flesh Eaters, is my understanding.
All very confusing. Not for my tiny brain, it's very confusing anyway. I'm sure that other people will be like, well, it's so easy to describe.
There's not even the remotest spiritual link with Dawn of the Dead. Like, the zombies don't look the same. I don't know. There's nothing that links the two movies apart from them being set in America.
So this is one of the most iconic video nasties. If you're unfamiliar with video nasties, I'm sure you will watching this, but they were a series of movies that were deemed too controversial. They got cuts quite a lot by the BBFC, and they were usually in video shops that were a bit kind of illegal, that were passed under the shelf, on the counter. I mean, I'm older than you, Dan, because you're, I'm guessing, 15 years younger than me.
Yeah, I'm about 8 years younger than you, right?
You were born in 86. You're 12 years younger. No, hang on, 82. Yeah, you're 12 years younger than me.
I got you. So you were 1970.
1970. So I grew up with video nasties, and 82, the year you were born, I think Evil Dead came out, and that was one of the video nasties that I remember seeing at the time.
Around that time, actually, because I did grow up with a lot of films that were still banned, and I think I'm quite grateful in a way, because I remember I was about 16, 17, and I found a guy on eBay who would sell you VHS copies of video nasties when you couldn't get them. So we were able to see like Anthropophagus the Beast, and Clockwork Orange, which was banned. Texas. I had an Austrian pen pal who came to visit, and she bought me a VHS copy of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was so exciting. So I'm quite grateful in a way that I grew up with a lot of those films still not being available, because it just added so much mystique to, actually, if I'm being honest, to what was quite a crappy selection of films. Like, some of those films are not good. But
oh my God! Well, I was going to say, I mean, really, you kind of can't really understand the big deal about it, because a lot of them aren't really that violent either. But I suppose in hindsight, we've come a long way since those days, since the 70s, 80s. And, I think, films are, they have to kind of up the game in a way, because they have to be more shocking. Yeah. But the list includes Nightmare in the Damaged Brain, which I remember seeing probably at the age of 10. Because somebody opposite me, Karen, she was a hairdresser, I remember. Not that has any relevance to the story, but her brother used to deal with VHS tapes, or we worked in a video shop, and so she had a huge collection of films, and I used to go around and watch all these horror films at the age of like 10. I mean, it's crazy to think about. My parents probably didn't understand what I was doing, didn't know what I was doing. Very liberal parents, but they probably didn't know the half of it. House by the Cemetery, Driller Killer. I mean, those just a few of the video nasties, and this obviously was one of them. It's weird though, because like I say, I don't see what the fuss was with this, because I mean, I'd never seen this up until now, but I was not shocked by it at all.
No. I mean, I really enjoyed watching this, because I have seen that there's a death scene in this film which is iconic, like
with the eye.
The splinter in the eye death, right? And I've never seen it in context of the film, of like who that character is, why she's being pulled into a splinter. So I just enjoyed seeing it, just to be like, oh, there's some context to it. But there's nothing about this that needed to be banned. But I would say there are some bits in this. I was really impressed with some of this film. Like, bearing in mind it was quite low budget Italian. There's a whole shark sequence. I'm like, it's actually quite impressive how they filmed it and how they actually put that together. That's
another moment that people always pick out. It's like, the zombie is fighting a shark.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's obviously, it's not fighting a shark. There's a zombie underwater that's obviously trying to bite a shark, because it's a zombie, so it's trying to eat it. And it's in some ways completely ludicrous, but but it's an actual real shark. Like, it is a real tiger shark. And somehow they filmed this whole sequence under the water, and it looks pretty good for the time it was made in. I was quite shocked, actually, because I was thinking, if it's a shark, it's going to be like Jaws. It's going to be quite rubbery, and we're not going to see it.
Yeah, true.
They just got an actual tiger shark, doped it up on pills, and then they just were able to film it. It was quite docile.
It's so random, though, isn't it? I mean, it's so bizarre, the whole concept.
And I think this film, my view was, I wasn't entertained throughout. There was definitely a lull where I'm like, all right, get on with it. But there were sequences, like the beginning, there was something about, whether it's because the Twin Towers were in the background, but there's this whole sequence with the boat coming into the harbour. That's how the film kicks off, which I thought was quite nicely done and quite eerie, like the boat being full of rubbish, and it's quite an ominous, like unnerving feeling. And then the end where the radio station's going nuts, like the zombies are taking over and they're all on the Brooklyn Bridge. And apparently what's funny is the actors are on the Brooklyn Bridge, it's all real, but there are cars going back and forth, even though society is supposed to have fallen down by this point, there's still traffic. So it was that kind of movie for me where I'm really grateful it exists. It's not a film that I would rush to watch again, but I sort of enjoyed the retro-tasticness of it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think you might have liked it a little bit more than me, but let's sum up that plot, because it's an abandoned boat in New York Harbour, like you mentioned, unleashes a dead flesh-crazed zombie cargo. Young American woman, Anne, who's, I think, played by... No, maybe it's somebody else. Because Tissa Farrow. Mia Farrow's sister's in it, yeah. So is that her? That is her, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, that's her.
So Tissa Farrow plays the American woman, Anne. Journalist played by Ian McCulloch, not Echo and the Bunnymen's Ian McCulloch. It's an actor.
Weird.
Yeah, that would be very weird. They investigate a tropical island where deadly disease is making the dead walk. Thoughts of getting to the bottom of the murderous curse will be forgotten. Corpses overwhelm the living, and reports come in that the Big Apple is swarming with the living dead. Yeah. It's funny because you don't really see that many of them, really. I mean, it takes a while to get going.
Yeah, it does. It does. But I found that I quite liked the beginning of it, because it's that really weird bit of, like, it's that kind of filmmaking you'll never see again. You'll never get it back. That the dubbed dialogue, the weird kind of quick cuts. There's some hilarious, like, background music that they use every time you see the boat. They have this little bit of, like, calypso music playing that's on a loop, and there's that whole, right. There's a scene where the lady who later gets splintered in the eye, they have this wonderful argument, and she screams something at him. He literally just winds his hand back and cracks her around the face with this massive slap, and it's like high camp, and I kind of love it, and I just think it's such a moment in time that you will never get back, like that kind of thing won't. So I quite enjoyed it. I just thought it started to sort of lose pace for me. Like by the middle, I'm like, yeah, I've kind of seen this now. I'm kind of done with it.
I think the script is pretty amusing. I mean, the dialogue is... it's not great. I mean, the acting is not great. The acting is pretty ropey, and the pacing is odd. But I think it does have a certain charm. Like you say, because it is that moment in time. I mean, I'm really glad I've seen it, because I haven't, up until now, I've not seen it. And it was one of those films, that was always being talked about. Yeah. And I've seen so many other video nasties, and this wasn't one of them. And I'm glad I finally got around to seeing it. So I'm pleased that I've seen it.
Same. I'm kind of glad I saw the whole thing from start to finish. And I think Lucio Fulci as well has a real style. Like, his zombies really do look horrific. I think they are genuinely quite scary. Like, there's a couple of sequences in this film. There's one that, like, rises from the dead, and it's got maggots in its eye sockets, and it's genuinely very good. Like, it's very, very effective. And I don't know whether, again, it's that retro thing of it just looks a bit like it's a bit like Dawn of the Dead. Just looks a bit. There's just something quite gross about how those zombies present themselves.
Squelchy, rubbery, because that would mean it looks fake. But that whole kind of squelchy, oozy, pussy.
Exactly that. I think I've not seen all of his film, The Beyond, but I've seen bits of that movie, and it's a really similar visual style where it's all a bit awkward dialogue, a little clipped, but the scare sequences are actually pretty good. He's got his own style. Like, for someone to have the zombies, we go like, yeah, that's a Lucio Fulci design. Like, I think that's quite interesting.
Too many special features to mention, but they'll all be on the screen of what you can get in this 4K package. But I mean, it's great to see a film from 1979 that probably hasn't had many restorations or any decent restorations before. So it's good for fans.
And part of me is, my personal view, and maybe this isn't the right thing to say because we're reviewing a DVD, but I love watching these films of VHS. I think it was half the fun was getting a crappy pirate copy of something that was kind of had lines at the top and you couldn't really hear or what was going on, but you saw the gore, and that was sort of the experience. So do I think these films necessarily need to be on 4K? They probably do from a posterity perspective, because people aren't buying VHSs anymore, but I really miss that experience of like watching them on a proper tape.
I know what you mean, because I think sometimes that made a film scarier because you couldn't really see that well. I remember Halloween. John Carpenter's Halloween is my favourite movie of all time. Not just horror movie, but it's my favourite movie. But I remember seeing it on so many dodgy copies of VHS at the time, and you couldn't really see that much, and that made it more scary because you couldn't see the detail. I
loved all that. Exactly. It was that kind of like slightly muddy quality. Like my favourite film's The Shining, and I had a VHS copy of that where the ending cut off before the last 10 minutes, and I had that for about 4 years before my mum and dad eventually took mercy on me and bought me a copy of it for Christmas. I must have been about 12, but it didn't matter because it was just cool, and it was slightly illicit, and I only had that because it was taped onto the end of something that my mum and dad had recorded off the TV. So there's a lot of nostalgia in these things, and I don't know if I need special features for something like Zombie 2. I just want to enjoy the vibes of it.
I guess when you're a really big fan of something, I think it's a real treasure trove to have all these special features, because I mean, you could know so much about a film, but then there's so much you probably don't know. So to have all these extras like deleted scenes you've never seen before maybe, and interviews and stuff, it gives a real insight into something that you didn't really think was there. It's like I think you probably would know more from that insight.
And it's funny, like, I feel like the video nasties thing in a way has almost preserved these films and given them a status far more than they would have had if they'd just been released and left alone, because now they get to brand themselves as one of the original video nasties, and then you can go and be like, I want to find out about everything and how it was all made. So they are little treasures, and I know I'm really pleased that era existed in a way, because it's such a little bit of mythos over the horror community.
Absolutely. So what star rating are you going for, Dan, for Zombie Flesh Eaters?
I'll go with a 3 out of 5. It's like a good solid 6 out of 10 if I was going to review it on my channel.
Yeah, I'm going for a 2.
That's fair.
I don't think it's... I mean, all the elements I mentioned, the acting, the pacing, and all of that, I think is pretty shocking. But I'm glad that I have seen it finally, and for the actual experience, I would probably give it a 3. But for the actual film itself, a 2.
Oh yeah. Let's not. I have this thing with Letterboxd, so I use Letterboxd to log a lot of my movies, and I quite like that. There's this love heart you can assign, and I do that a lot on films where I'm like, I know this isn't good, but I kind of love it. There are films that I'm like, technically I know that's not a good film. Like, this isn't a good film. It's not particularly well produced or well written, but it's got such a rustic charm about it.
It's funny because Ian McCulloch, the main actor, the journalist, he introduces the Blu-ray, and it's so, in a way, it just feels so unconvincing. He's like, this is a really great film, and I'm really pleased to have been a part of it. But his intro is really short, and he's kind of staring into the camera in a really, I don't know, just like...
Is he still alive?
I just didn't believe it. It's like, it's not... people are fans of it, sure, but he's
that gives
introducing it like it's an award-winning film.
I imagine that's vibes for me of, I have a kid that I want to put through private school, and I better do this crappy Italian horror film so I can pay for it.
We're such cynics, aren't we?
Yeah,
it's so true.
I'll just do it because it's fine, and it might get me a part here, and it'll get me into this market.
It's funny though. I mean, you've got to see that intro because he stares into the camera, and I'm not believing a word you're saying, and he's almost got quite a deadpan expression on his face. It's like someone's forcing me to say this.
Yeah, please don't make me do this. I've forgotten about this film I made 50 years ago. But, as I said, proper charming little movie in its own way, and probably paved the way for lots of other things like it. So
yeah, totally. Zombie Flesh Eaters, that comes out on the 28th of July. It retails for about 35 quid, which is pretty good for a big box set. I guess that's the norm, isn't it? About 35 quid.
Love it. And maybe one day I need a box set. I need all the video nasties in one big place. Give me the whole set of them I can buy. That would be fun.
Just a quick plug for your channel as well, Nancy Boys. Lots of stuff going on.
Nancy Boys, film location tours, horror movie reviews, things like that. 28 Years Later is my most latest review, which has been gloriously divisive. So come and watch that. Tell me what you think.